Let's talk Tanya for the 6th of Elul of a leap year. In yesterday's Tanya, we started talking about the concept of shalom, of peace, and how peace is accomplished. And the example that we're giving is that which our sages say on the pasuk Oisa Shalom B'Mreim, of the one who makes peace in heavens, as we explained yesterday, that there is Michal and Gabriel. Michal is the angel of water and represents the concept of chesed, of kindness, and Gabriel is the angel of fire, represents Gevura. And when God wanted to bring the plague of hail upon the Egyptians, he had to make peace between the two of them so that the fire and the water can coexist for the purpose of bringing hail, that supernatural hail upon the Egyptians. How did that peace happen? And the answer is God didn't really have to do anything other than, so to say, as it were, usher Michal and Gabriel into his presence, and suddenly peace was the automatic result. And why is that? Here you have Michal and Gabriel. Michal says, I'm chesed, I'm water. Gabriel says, I'm fire, I'm gevura. But you know what? When Michal and Gabriel are angels, they're standing in front of God. You know what Michal says? He doesn't say, I'm water and chesed. He says, God, I'm your servant. Because in God's presence, he's overcome with bittul, with a selfless nullification to God. And the same thing happens to Gabriel. And suddenly his identity becomes that of a servant to God because he's overcome by this bittul, by this nullification. And when both Michal and Gabriel become bittul, they lose their sense of self. And suddenly they're instead enveloped by a sense of mission because of the revelation of God. Suddenly they can cooperate and coexist. And the same thing is true with chesed and gevura. Chesed and gevura, kindness, severity, you might want to say they're polar opposites in their philosophy on everything. But when we're talking about divine attributes, and when there is a great revelation of God upon his attributes, then suddenly the attributes lose the intensity of their individual identity, and instead each one realizes, I'm merely there to serve God, and I'm merely there to serve God, and they can come together. And actually, when Chesed and Gevura come together, the result is a third attribute, which is Tiferes, which is Rachmim, and we'll talk about that later, God willing, when we hit chapter 15 of Igeres HaKodesh. The underlying idea over here is that whenever we have opposing forces, the way to make peace, the way to create that bridge and make peace, is by the revelation of something higher and greater than the both of them, something which they can both set themselves aside and be in the service of, and suddenly we can have two. Previously, they were opponents, and suddenly they can coexist and cooperate. And this is true in every single area of life. You have two people. They might not like each other. They might not get along with each other. But if there's some sort of higher ideal or value or goal, which they're both committed to, then both of them also can come together, and there could be shalom between the two of them. What does it have to do with tzedakah, which is the larger topic of our letter? We'll find that out in tomorrow's Let's Talk Tanya.